That boy leg look broke. Oh my God. His leg broke and y'all dragging him like that.
The killing of a black man, Freddie Gray, recently resulted in riots in the American city of Baltimore. You've heard about the sharp racial and economic divide in America, but surely nowhere is it more stark than here in Baltimore. On this week's INfocus, we travel to the city to find an America sharply divided. So you think you just gotta help yourself as a community?
You don't have a choice. Your government will do nothing for you. They do not care. They don't care. I don't know how to explain it. They don't give a f***.
Freddie Gray handcuffed, being dragged into a police van in North Baltimore. His screams of pain are clearly audible. Instead of seeking medical attention, the police officers lock him in the back of the van and drive off. A week later, Freddie Gray dies of his injuries. After Freddie Gray's death and the release of this video, protests erupted across Baltimore. After his funeral, some of the protests turned violent. If the video of Freddie Gray's arrest didn't shock America, the so-called riots certainly did. 20 police officers were injured, over 250 protesters were arrested, a handful of buildings were set on fire, a curfew was enforced. Then the National Guard was brought in and a state of emergency announced. We're driving into North Baltimore now, where Freddie Gray was killed and the so-called riots happened. And the first thing that hits you when you get here is that this place is literally falling apart. Countless boarded up properties, weeds growing from unkempt pavements, and few shops. It is also immediately clear that this area is almost 100% black. It was like this before the riots, nothing has changed since. It's not hard to find drug users. On street corners, it's not hard to find drug dealers. Our first destination was where Freddie Gray was killed. Murals now adorn the walls, this one advocating a new civil rights movement for the black community.
Justice, no racist police.
When we arrived, protesters were gathering. They marched to the nearby police station. Police officers looked on suspiciously.
No justice,
No peace.
no racist
Police.
Hey, no justice,
No peace.
no racist police.
So why is everyone here today?
This is a peace march for Freddie Gray. This is a peace march because kind of was needed to bring the city back together, to show the momentum that people are here still fighting for justice for Freddie Gray. Still remember that the fight is not over.
The protest looked small, but it was protests like this one that began the huge citywide events that happened just a few weeks ago. Is this just about Freddie Gray or is this about wider issues?
There's millions of Freddie Grays throughout America. There's millions of Tyrone West. There's millions of Mike Browns. This is about black lives and how black lives aren't valued in the criminal justice system of America, or in America, period.
The media came here and the big story was the riots, so-called riots. I've been here just a day now in Baltimore. There seems to be other stories that are more important than that. I look around these areas of Baltimore, I see an area in decay.
Yeah, so this stuff predates my birth. Like, we're about to walk past houses that have been boarded up. You can see trees and everything growing inside the houses. So it's a lot of issues taking place. So it's bigger than just one issue. It's the whole black lives on a global scale.
As the protesters march through the decay, it's clear that the killing of black men by the police is just one of the problems on these streets. Opposite the corner where drug dealers do business in broad daylight, a man approached us. So what's this area like?
It's terrible. It's a terrible area. It's a dangerous area. You got a bunch of poor people living in this area. Only thing they give them, the United States government give them is food stamps. What can you buy with food stamps? You can't go buy clothes with them.
I asked him what the police were like around here.
This problem been like that for years. The police constantly been beating guys, man. Been beating them, taking their money from them. You ain't got but $40 in your pocket. That's all you got is $40, and the police search you, don't find no drugs, and keep your money. Take my money. Took money from a lot of guys around and made me go home.
Why did he take your money?
For no reason. He searched me, seen I didn't have any drugs on me, and he took my money. They corrupt. Not all of them, because you got some good police officers. But I said about 30% of them are pure crooks. Take your money until you go on home.
Police stealing from people may sound shocking for some, but it is not shocking for anyone living around here. Baltimore, which likes to claim it is the greatest city in America, is notorious for its endemic and institutional corruption. A couple of days ago, Michael Wood, a former Baltimore police officer, started tweeting. Now, I'd like to say what he tweeted made it onto all the news networks in America, but it hasn't. The story's hardly been picked up, which is quite incredible in itself. Let me tell you what he says. His first message is this. So here we go. I'm going to start tweeting the things I've seen and participated in policing that is corrupt, intentional or not. He goes on to give so many examples of corruption within the police. For example, he writes, a detective slapping a completely innocent female in the face for bumping into him. Another one, CCTV cameras turning as soon as a suspect is close to being caught, presumably so that police officers can do whatever they like, beat him up or whatever. And the list goes on and on. While we were in Baltimore, this picture was taken of the inside of a police van. One of the contributing factors to Freddie Gray's death was that the police drove him round in the van while he was unsecured in the back. So here in Baltimore, the police putting someone in the back of the van and driving them around before taking them to the... Is that common?
Yes. Anytime you have a pre-existing name for something, it's common. They call it a rough ride. So there's areas of the city where the streets are bad, where, you know, there's bumps and hills and things like that. So if you drive over every bump and you don't properly secure the person in the back, you're gonna...
He's handcuffed.
Right. So assuming that this man is handcuffed behind his back and there's no other restraints, you're in what's equivalent to a closet, a small closet, and you hit a bump. Everything in there is metal, you know, there's no real cushioning or padding for protection. You bump, you're gonna hit your head. If he steps on the brakes, you're gonna go forward, and that's basically what happened.
In North Baltimore, we wanted to find evidence of government or charity help in the area. We found it difficult. Instead, we were pointed in the direction of this man, his office next door to where drugs were being sold openly on the street. His main job was to help young men who had been in jail back into society. He started by telling me some surprising information. And you've been in prison, you're still part of a gang, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And that sounds pretty crazy. You're part of a gang, and you're saying that on television.
So?
Doesn't that mean you're part of criminal activity?
Says whom? No. I work every day. I just happen to be a gang member, so what? You don't walk up on a fraternal order of police and call them criminals. You don't walk up to the fraternal order of judges and lawyers or whatever the hell they call it and call them criminals. But all of those people that I have mentioned, gangs included, break the law. So what's the difference?
How important is the gang in this community? What kind of role does it play?
We come from a community where a good 60 to 70% of the fathers here, the brothers, are incarcerated and or dead or wherever. So what you have here now is a large contingency of people who grew up without fathers and or brothers, absolutely no real male role models, and the people who want to be role models come to your house, lock you up, kick your ass, break your friend's neck in the back of a van. So if you can equate that, if you can figure out what I mean by that, those uniforms and those suits and those pretty people who go on TV and call us criminals don't give, excuse my French, don't really give a about us. And someone has to, so we care about each other. That's how important a gang is if you had to equate it to something.
With seemingly no government help, perhaps it wasn't surprising that the only charity help around here was led by gang members. There's a lot of apathy within the black community here.
If every time you reach for something to eat, I stab you in the hand, how long are you gonna keep reaching? Every time you touch a piece of bread, I break your fingers, how long are you gonna keep reaching? And if every time you try, I push you down a flight of stairs, how many times you gonna keep trying? There's no apathy, there's fucking fear. Fear, pure, unadulterated fear. Walk back outside and take a good look in everybody's face. That's post-traumatic slavery syndrome all fucking day. Don't know any better. Every time I reach for something, they break my hand. Every time I try to do better, they take it from me.
Before, you know, back when black people had their own communities like Baltimore, that wasn't always torn down and abandoned and dilapidated. Baltimore was a thriving city at one time where, you know, houses were filled with families and businesses were present and everyone was flourishing. There was great pride here. But somewhere along the lines, probably through drug epidemics and that sort of systemic racism, it really demolished the city to the point where it's only a skeleton of what it was before.
In the 1980s, drug epidemics gutted black communities. Allegations have been rife for years that it was the CIA and American government who were instrumental in introducing the drugs. Nowadays, the United States has the largest prison population in the world per capita, at far higher levels than any other developed nation. Those in jail are disproportionately black. The privatized prison system makes huge profits from the number of people sent to prison.
The vast majority of Baltimore's income comes from incarceration. Did you know that? So why would they want it to stop if you have a market of lock these niggas up right here waiting to happen? Why? If you're a businessman, I'm a business major. If the product sells, don't fix it.
And how bad is the problem of black men getting killed by the police?
It's so much of an epidemic that when it happens, we aren't shocked that it happened. For a black person to be murdered by police is becoming a daily occurrence.
Scandals of black people getting killed by the police are now becoming routine. Earlier this year, Walter Scott was shot dead in the back by police officer Michael Slager. And more recently, the shocking case of Sandra Bland in Texas. She was pulled over for a routine traffic stop.
2547 County FM 1098, just north of 290, send me another unit. Get out of the car!
Another unit, FM 1098.
Get out of the car, now!
Why am I being apprehended? You're trying to give me a ticket
I
for
said
your failure?
get out of the car.
Why am I being apprehended? You
I'm
just
giving you a
opened my
lawful
car
order.
door. You just
I'm
opened
going
my
to
car
drag you
door.
out of here.
So you threatening to drag me out of my own car?
Get out of the car!
And then you
I will
stop
light
me?
you up. Get out!
Wow.
Now!
Wow.
Get out of the car!
Really, for a failure to signal. You're doing all of this for
Get
a failure
over there!
She was pulled over for a routine traffic stop. After the police officer pulled out his taser and threatened to light her up, more arguments and an altercation took place off camera. Sandra was arrested. 3 days later, she was found dead in her cell. The police say she hanged herself with a plastic bag. Many simply don't believe that story.
There's no sense of security when you look at police officers. The first instinct for some is fear. By the ones who drive in cars that say serve and protect in places that call themselves the greatest city in America, like Baltimore. It's a total contradiction to reality. It's also a reality that white people don't live, and most of them don't understand.
You've heard about the sharp racial and economic divide in America, but surely nowhere is it more stark than here in Baltimore. Just a couple of miles down the road from the profound decay of North Baltimore, here is the city itself, and it's a very different place.
Central Baltimore is wealthy and mostly white. The sparkling towers, the clean streets, and racial makeup so starkly different than the areas only a couple of miles down the road.
Do you think there's a divide between rich white areas and poor black areas in America, a big racial divide?
Not in the part of the country where I live. I think in maybe some of the larger, more economically depressed cities in America, there may be. I think this country has become more racially divided over recent years.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's become more divided?
I think people have politicized things. There's less concrete discussion. There's fundamentally less respect for people. People are not respectful of differing opinions. People used to be more open to have conversation. And if you felt one way and I felt another way, we respected each other. People don't tend to do that anymore.
I think it's generally the people. Because I lived in Philadelphia for a very long
Well, the people are corrupt?
Well, it's the way the people think. They want to come out on top. You know, you don't want to live in a terrible area your entire life. You don't want to live a certain way. You want to come out on top. You want to get out of it, and sometimes that means stepping on people's toes. You know, and I think that's what happens, is that people find that they want money, and if they got to, you know, push somebody out of the mirror, you know, to get it, then that's what's got to happen for some people.
Although there are many Americans who might never have travelled to areas like North Baltimore, it is not hard to find Americans who are as desperate for change as the black community.
Do you think there's a big divide between what rich white areas and poor black areas? Is it as simple as that?
100%. In Miami, there is definitely, it's still segregated to this day. Even in the year 2015, it's crazy that it still exists. I don't think it's just Baltimore. Baltimore is just a case. You know, there's hundreds of examples of it, I think, in America.
You seem pretty upset about America right now.
Yeah, it's bad. Moved to England. It's bad.
2 miles down the road, Shadow took us on a tour of his neighborhood to show us what his organization was creating.
So for instance, this is our Kid Safe Zone. It's completely funded by donations. It's been up for like 2 or 3 weeks. It's where kids can come to, you know, just basically play and congregate. One of the prerequisites for them being able to do that is when they enter, they have to sign in and they have to read a book for 15 minutes.
Finding jobs in this area can seem daunting, if not impossible for many, especially those who have been in jail. This centre helps people get set up.
Is there any government funded things like this?
All donations, no. Government does nothing. I keep telling you. Nothing. With the help of donations from everywhere. We had to do this. It didn't exist before today. You know what I mean? Now, if it didn't exist, where would all of these kids be? Middle of the summer. They're all jobs that you can kind of basically be proud of. It's not like, okay, well, you flip burgers for $7.50. Like, that's not really going to do you no good, because the first time $7.50 ain't enough, you're going to break the law.
Yeah.
That's just.
But a lot of people have to be in that life, right? I mean,
no one actually has to be. Anytime you work for a company that makes billions of dollars and its CEO makes a couple of $1 million, dude, you can give me $15 an hour.
Yeah.
Literally, $10 an hour.
Black people are not hired, not even interviewed for jobs based on our names. People joke in the black community like, oh, you'll get a good, if you have a name like Jessica Harris or something, oh, you'll be able to get a good job. Because if your name is Shanika or Daquan, you know, you won't even get an interview. Even if you're equally as prepared and qualified for the position.
This gentleman is actually, I'm very, very proud of Mr. Ellis. Mr. Ellis was one of the first clients we had to incubate his business within our program. And he's one hell of a cook.
Mr. Ellis used to be a heavy drug user. This centre has helped him get over his addiction.
30 years of using, 2 years clean, 2 years in a row. No mistakes.
Nice.
No, I bumped my head. Excuse me. I made a mistake. It's raining outside. You know, none of that. You know, just 2 years consistent.
Yes, sir.
Well done. So what do you do? What do you need now to get this kitchen open?
I need. Can I show them what I need?
I don't have clearance, but go ahead. I'll take it.
Okay, fine.
Shadow is helping Mr. Ellis achieve his dream of being a chef and having his own kitchen. Through hard work and donations, he has now got most of the equipment he needs. He's even bought himself a camera.
What's the camera for?
I take pictures of all the food that I do.
So we can put together flyers and menus,
yes,
and they can see what it is they're paying for.
Right.
That's my son. Okay. No. That's my son.
A lot of pictures of your son here, I think.
Oh, man. That's him playing. You know, he's walking down the street, and he said, "Daddy, why you keep holding my hand?" I didn't want to tell him that he's actually holding my hand. Oh, that's me at church. Oh, they call me Brother William now. This is my pastor.
All right.
And that's his husband. That's oh, that's us getting face painted.
You've been having a good old time, bro.
We are treated unfairly in academics. You go to Baltimore, some of the worst schools there. If over in Howard County, which is just outside of Baltimore, if they've got brand new schools being built, brand new books, paint and all those things, why send thousands of dollars there when you have schools that are falling apart in Baltimore where kids don't have books?
Central to Shadow's work is trying to tackle the dereliction which pervades the area.
And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, skip 1, 15, 16 on one block, right? You have empty. You have 20,000 homeless, 30,000 empty homes. How the does that make any sense? You can't own it. You can't do shit with it unless you know what I'm saying, break into my and put yourself at risk. Then we're called hopeless and quote-unquote criminal. It's funny as shit, ain't it?
So you think you just got to help yourself as a community?
You don't have a choice. Your government will do nothing for you. They do not care. They don't care. I don't know how to explain it. They don't give a f. If I got ran over in the street by a cop car, you wouldn't see not a single mother we elected come through this say, now that's a shame. You need to do something about this. Not a single one of them. This whole burnt. We didn't see these mother 3 weeks later. Out of here. They don't give a if they had a to give, they gave it to a voter or somebody who paid for their campaign. They don't give a They don't. Not until the rabbit got the gun. They don't give a The first time in all of my years of being here, I ever seen them get up and even say something is when they started to burn the down. Oh, the country's looking. Hold up, wait. We can't have people think we don't get. But you don't. That ain't the point. We can't have them thinking that. Come, I ain't done.
With more people like Shadow, it's clear great things can be achieved in Baltimore, even if the government doesn't help. He, like most people we spoke to around here, has a pride in his neighborhood. He ended our tour on the corner next to his office, where drugs were being sold openly.
Number one, there's no money coming into the community, and ain't nobody getting jobs out here. Don't make no sense, and then they say it's not deliberate. It can't be deliberate because we ain't doing it to ourselves. Every dude you see selling a drug anywhere on the strip, ask him if he want a job. He might rob you just for the information. That's real. Oh, I would much rather work. Who the want to run from the police every day, all day? That don't make no sense.
We went to speak to some of the guys selling drugs. Some didn't want to be filmed, but it wasn't hard to find people who would talk.
Grew up around here, lived around here for about 21 years.
What's it like?
I mean, it's hard. Like if you don't have a means to support yourself, it's really hard out here. Like nobody's gonna give you anything. You have to support yourself. Yeah, and it's like it's sad that there are programs in place to provide the bare minimum, but it's few programs in place to actually help you empower yourself, to help you get out of this situation. It's just barely enough to help you survive and continue in the situation.
The main issue is that they need to rebuild this area. You got me? These guys would get off the corners if they gave them jobs. You understand what I'm saying? And that's why a lot of people in this area are suffering. They don't have jobs. You understand what I'm saying? They need jobs, man.
It's like we have to get ourselves out of this situation. I don't depend on them. Will they assist us? Hopefully.
Not even a farmer?
Oh.
The officers who arrested Freddie Gray are now on trial in Baltimore. Back at the protest, activists have a warning for the authorities.
Somebody told me today if they're not found guilty, there's going to be riots again.
As Minister Farrakhan put it politely, we want justice or else.
Baltimore City is waiting for the results of this case. They're going to be down the courthouse when that case go on. If they find any of those officers not guilty, believe that they're going to tear this city up.